This is Michael Woodward, and this is Season 2, Episode 99 of the Jumble Think Podcast.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Jumble Think Podcast, where we interview amazing entrepreneurs about their journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality. Along the way, we'll share some tips on how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. Our guest on today's episode is Steve Olsher. More about Steve in a moment. If you haven't already, make sure you head on over to wherever you like to listen to podcasts and subscribe to the Jumble Think Podcast. For iTunes, simply go to jumblethink.com/iTunes, and for Spotify, jumblethink.com/Spotify. It'll take you right to the app, right to where you can subscribe. Now let's jump into today's episode. Hey there, welcome to the Jumble Think Podcast. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host. We have an incredible episode lined up for you today. Before we get rolling, I want to let you know about idea camps. Have you ever had an idea or dream and kind of got stuck? Or said, one day I will get there and do that? Well, it's time to stop wishing for one day or hoping for the perfect time. It's time for you to join our idea camps, where we'll take you from an idea and a concept and give you a battle plan on making that dream, making that idea a reality. Head on over to jumblethink.com/idea camps to learn more about idea camps and sign up for our free giveaway with some really cool stuff. We also want to thank our sponsors for today's episode, OpportunityInChina.com and Floxy. You're going to learn a little bit more about them in a moment. Today on the podcast, we are talking to our friend Steve Olsher, founder of New Media Summit, and he's doing some really great stuff. So let's join that conversation and learn a little bit more about Steve. Our guest today is Steve Olsher. He is a guy that I got to meet through an event called New Media Summit. He's not just some guy. He is the guy who put on the event, doing really cool stuff, connecting amazing people who might fly under the radar to other people who are getting messages out there. It's super cool. Steve, thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, brother.
Okay, so one of the things the reason I love you so much and what you do is this ultra transparency.
I love you too, man.
Oh, thanks. You operate in ultra transparency. If somebody asks, you're an open book. I love that. Where did that kind of become a foundation for you? Because it's a pillar of what you build.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, I've been online for a long time. We actually launched on CompuServe's Electronic Mall in '93.
Yeah.
So I've been online for a long time, and there's just there's a certain let's just say there's a certain someone and someones and lots of someones who are in the online world that frankly have given online marketing a bad name.
Yeah.
And they're just not the kinds of folks you want to bring home to mom, right? So it's really been a reflection of knowing that I wanted to just be someone that would be the example that others could look at and go, this guy's legit, and he's someone I can trust. Even though it is someone marketing online, it doesn't mean that everyone who's online is a bad, evil person. Like, there are actually some legit folks out there.
Yeah.
So I think it was really just born out of that, and just kind of how I was raised. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I've always been this angel. I mean, you and I had a conversation earlier about just this whole world of podcasting and everything that's going on in that world. And I'll be the first one to tell you I sold speakers out of the back of a van at one point,
Wow.
So it's, I'm not, I don't have a halo over my head, but I certainly try to be as transparent as possible, especially when questions are asked. I want to make sure that I answer them with as much of the truth as I possibly can.
So you mentioned in '93, you started your life in the digital world as a business. Tell us a little bit about that journey of entrepreneurship and how you got rolling, how you got drawn into the story of entrepreneurship for yourself.
I think we're just wired that way, man. It's people say it's possible to become an entrepreneur even if you're not wired that way. It's kind of the entrepreneur's the question of are they born or are they made, or in my philosophy on that is that they're just born.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't be an entrepreneur if you aren't one at this juncture, but I would certainly say that for me, it's always been in the blood. It's always been in the DNA. I mean, literally from the time I was old enough to pick up a rake and try to move some leaves around and make a few bucks, or grab a shovel and do shovel some sidewalks and driveways and whatnot. I've just been always wired that way. So it's been a heck of a journey that's taken me from nightclubs. I actually opened up my own nightclub when I was 19 to catalogs and .coms and real estate and live events and coaching and authoring and speakering and podcasting. I mean, you name it. I think I've done it over the years, but again, it's simply been a part of who I am. And I guess, my friend Michael O'Neill talks about just being, proudly unemployable.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in that boat. I can't, I don't know, as much as I think I'd like to be able to work for someone and maybe go and get one of those corporate, big wig corner office type jobs somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure I'm cut out for it.
You'd probably go insane and want to pull out all of your hair and just live a different life if you did that.
Yeah, for sure.
You, one of the things that's really cool about you is that, you talk about being involved in the online space since the early 90s, but you still are very youthful. You have lots of energy. You feel like when you're around you, you are living life abundantly with joy and with excitement. In that journey of doing entrepreneurship, how is that like really energizing you? Because you are like the ever ready bunny, just or Duracell bunny or whichever one it is, just bouncing along, and you just constantly go. You work hard, you do a lot. Is it because you are being fed by entrepreneurship, or you're doing what you're born to do? Where's that come from?
It is interesting. I do think that there are certain folks who, again, are just wired to excel in very specific ways. And for me, taking the stage and leading a crowd, and I played drums for a dozen years, right?
Oh,
so
wow. I didn't know that.
So being on stage. It's always been really natural and comfortable for me. As a matter of fact, I'm probably more comfortable on stage than I am off stage.
Wow.
So I know that sounds odd, but it's true. And reality is, I think a lot of the youthfulness, if you will, that you're describing just comes from kind of that entertainment type side that's a part of who I am, and just wanting to make sure that folks who are coming to my party, whatever that party is, if it's an online party or if it's a in-person party, and I just want to make sure that people are taken care of and have a good time. So I think that's just in sort of that natural mothering type of instinct there that kicks in whenever I invite someone to do something. I just want to make sure that they can walk away from that feeling like the invitation was worthwhile.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so your story fascinates me. You told a lot of it at New Media Summit, where it was the first time I met you in person. We had talked online several times through some meetups and different things, but first time seeing you, and you open up and share a picture that most people don't know about entrepreneurship, especially if they're outside of it. We see the Gary V's, we see these names that are massive successes. Everything that they seem to do always works out perfectly, which we know isn't true, but that's the persona and what we get. You just said, hey, look, I'm going to pull the veil away, and I'm going to show you that entrepreneurship is hard and sometimes it beats you up. Tell us a little bit about that journey for you when you went through just getting kind of really clobbered through entrepreneurship, and how you were able to adapt and evolve so that you could overcome it.
Yeah, which time? Right?
Isn't that true?
So, I know. It's I would say the first real time that I got clobbered was when that company that I've mentioned now in terms of launching on CompuServe in '93, that company was in the liquor space. So basically, what we would do is we would provide worldwide gift delivery of wine and champagne and spirits and gift baskets. We served about 40 countries at that point. And so the best way to think about it is kind of like FTD is for flowers. That's how we were for the booze biz. We would use local retailers to make those deliveries. And so that was the company that we launched on CompuServe. That was the company that we built a fully functional e-commerce site for in 95. And that was the company that became liquor.com in 98. And so late 90s, things were pretty nuts in the .com world. I mean, literally ideas on a napkin were being funded with millions of dollars.
Right.
It's just like, dumb money, right?
Yeah.
And we got caught up in all that .com hype because here we were with a great .com, liquor.com, a category killer. And we had already been doing millions of dollars in revenue and just felt like, all we really need to do is to get some more money in the door so we can get more visibility and get more people knowing about us. And so we bit off on kind of that whole .com hype, if you will, and we're blinded by that .com light, and hired an investment bank to take us public. And Wall Street wanted us to bring in all these lettered saviors, right? The CEOs and CTOs and CFOs and CMOs and, WTFs and all these folks. And it's just like, okay, if you tell us that's what we need to do, then that's what we need to do. And part of what we needed to do was to sign away our management rights to the company so that they could come in and do what they needed to do to really take us to that promised land. And we were slated to go public in March of 2000.
Wow.
And March of 2000 was really the beginning of the end for the NASDAQ at that point in time. And what was once sitting at 5,500 in terms of the value of the NASDAQ, within a matter of just a couple of weeks, it had dropped to about 2,200. And pretty quickly, it was clear that we were not going to be able to get out and go public. And pretty soon it was clear that the people that we brought in to take us to this promised land had no clue what they were doing.
Wow.
And within a matter of months, I walked away from a lot of money on paper and literally quit that company that I had spent 9 years building. And it was a really hard time because I had 9 years into that thing and worth a whole lot of money on paper, but at the end of the day, it was absolutely valueless. And that was tough, man, because you put all these hopes and dreams into this big pot of gold that's coming at the end of the rainbow there, and then the sun comes out, and the rainbow and the pot of gold disappears.
Yeah. Okay, so you have this tumble from the .com burst. It really impacts you. One of the things that I think most people don't think about in entrepreneurship is the fallout of the bad experience, how it impacts their family, how it impacts their friendships, how it impacts the individual's own mental well-being. I know for you, you've been very intentional about how you engage your family in your entrepreneurial journey, and you've done a great job of just really valuing them and walking through that. Talk us a little bit through how you navigate those things when entrepreneurship doesn't measure up to what you expect.
Well, it's interesting. My family, of course, comes first.
Yeah.
And when you were the primary breadwinner, which I was at the time, and my wife was working, but I was the primary breadwinner. It's funny, man, but just instinct kicks in, and you just don't have time to sit here and rest on your laurels, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So my family didn't. I kind of shelter them from really the extent of which this was a serious issue.
Wow.
They kind of knew, but they didn't really know.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting about, and look, as a man today in, this I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what we call this period of time here.
Insanity.
Insanity, right? But being a man today is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many mixed messages and all the things that we've been told that we are supposed to do for millennia.
Yeah.
In terms of protecting our family and protecting our women, and like in doing, like all these things we're being told we need to do. And genetically, it's in the DNA, and then all of a sudden, somebody just kind of rips that out from under you and says, hey, let's go ahead and let's change the script here. It's tricky, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was raised in a way where I need to protect my family.
Yeah.
And so the bottom line is they didn't really know,
Yeah.
right? The bottom line is we didn't have those sort of real conversations about, holy cow, we're kind of hosed here.
Yeah.
Like I've got no money coming in. So it was just a really interesting period of time where I just couldn't even sit there to do anything other than get right back at it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so as we wrap up this first segment, we always like to ask a couple final questions. How are you finding purpose in what you do?
It's a great question. Sorry for the triple sigh there. I mean, it is a great question, because one of the things that I struggle with is really understanding why I am here and what it is that I'm truly compelled to do. And, the God's honest truth is I wrote the book, What is Your What? Discover the One Amazing Thing You Were Born to Do, because that's the question that I've really struggled with for my entire adult life. And,
Wow.
and after trying the Myers-Briggs and the What Color Is Your Parachutes and so on,
Yeah.
all of those modalities that really just left me with more questions than answers.
Wow.
That's really why I made the decision to write this book and to try to create a framework that would help me figure out exactly what does put fire in my soul. And so it's just been a very interesting journey for me over the last 27, 28 years of adulthood. And reality is I don't know that I've found yet what truly is something that I'm passionate about. And maybe it's because I'm just not one of those people who's ever going to be content,
Okay.
And reality is, I think that's why I'm able to do so many things. People often say, how are you able to do as much as you do? And I honestly don't feel like I'm doing that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm just wired in that way where it's not that I need more, right? I don't need more from a material standpoint. And I was actually just thinking about this morning, and I mean, we're definitely comfortable, but I don't have what I would call FU money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not building a 500-foot yacht anytime soon.
Yeah.
But reality is, I don't think that would be a gift for me anyway.
Wow.
I think that being comfortable is the gift, but not being so comfortable that I don't need to stay at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It gives you a purpose to have the drive to continue on, because you don't ever feel like you've truly arrived, but you know that you're headed in a direction.
Yeah, and I feel like it would be a waste if I just stopped.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to sit here. This is not a hey, send Steve Olsher some money type charity pitch here. I'm doing just fine.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I often think about how much less I would do. I think if I didn't have the sort of that drive that keeps pushing me towards making sure that I'm doing something that is really of value and of service to others, because what I realized a number of years ago is that, everything that I was doing was all well and good for me, and it was of value to me and those closest to me, but really no one else. And so now the drive and the passion, as you call it, is really about helping people find comfort and clarity in what it is that they're doing and what it is that they want to do, right? And being able to discover, share, or monetize really how they are naturally wired to excel. And I think that's really what puts passion in the work that I do now. But it's never going to be one of those things where I'm like, okay, I've gotten to that point, and I can stop.
Yeah. What's one challenge you're currently working to overcome in your business?
It's a personal challenge.
Okay.
And it's a personal challenge from the standpoint of liquor.com is a perfect example. So without going into too much detail, I was actually able to get that domain back in 2006, and I put together a team that has been running that company out of San Francisco basically since 2009. And so I'm chairman and one of the largest shareholders of the company.
Right.
But reality is there's so much more that company could be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, the team that's there now is doing a great job and they're killing it in a lot of areas, but revenue isn't one of them. Operating in the black isn't one of them. You know, they've got that Silicon Valley kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work to our benefit. So I could put a group together to buy out the existing shareholders, but I just don't feel the drive to do that. I mean, that's a 9-figure exit all day long. If we buckled down and just did what we needed to do for 24 to 36 months there, it's a 9-figure exit all day long. But for whatever reason, I can't seem to get myself fired up to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's really the challenge that I'm facing right now, is like this comfort, if you will, of working 3 days a week, because that's really what I do. I mean, today's a Tuesday. So I try to keep my work week to Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I've got $4 million plus businesses that are currently operating, right? So why can't I go all in? And really just try to build that $1 billion business, or build something that would be a 60, 70, 80 hour a week thing. You know, why can't I do that? Why don't I want to do that? Why haven't I done that? And that's the struggle. That's the conversation. And so there's a part of me that just kind of goes back and forth and just kind of teeter-totters with that all day long. Am I really doing enough? And so that's the personal challenge. That's the personal struggle right now in terms of my business is, am I being short-sighted? You know, am I working as hard as I should be working? But then there's other people who would say, well, fuck, man, you know, if I could do, you know, a 3-day a week work week and get to spend time with my kids and, you know, do other things and this, that, and the other, I'd take that too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's the challenge is my not feeling 100% comfortable with the level of productivity that I'm currently operating at, or maybe I'm just being extremely productive. Right. So, I mean, so there's that too. I don't know.
What's the next big goal you have for the business?
Answer that question.
It's a good question to answer, I think, now.
Yeah, right. Just be able to answer everything that we just talked about. So I think that I will say that the biggest challenge for us right now is optimizing the New Media Summit. Okay. Right. Which is I mean, you've experienced it, and it's a great event. Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's a great event. And, you know, for us in being the creators of the event, it's a great event. But where does the summit go from here? You know, I mean, we've intentionally capped it at 150 attendees because there has to be that degree of intimacy there. But an event that has 150 attendees, you're not going to be able to have a huge exhibition space, as an example, right? Where you've got 50 odd vendors or 100 vendors all paying you $10,000 a pop, right? So it's not going to be $1 million event from that standpoint. But it's a question of, so what do we do with it, right? I mean, we love the event. It's a great event, but from purely from a revenue standpoint, there's definitely more optimization there that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges right now, is how do we continue to have a more intimate event that we love and the attendees love, and the icons of influence like yourself, who that's what we call the podcasters that are there. I mean, you guys all love the event as well. So all in all, it's a win-win-win, but there's still another piece of that puzzle that we've got to solve in terms of how to take it up to the next level there from an optimization and monetization standpoint.
Super, super cool. We're going to dive so much more into this conversation in our second segment. We'll be right back with Steve Olsher.
We want to take a moment and thank our sponsors for today's episode, Opportunity in China and Floxy. Here's a little bit more about our friends over at Floxy. You have a killer idea for the perfect graphic or website, but you feel stuck and overwhelmed by the cost and skills it takes to create those ideas. Maybe you lack the time you need to create them. No matter the obstacle, it's time to get that idea created. And our friends over at Floxy can help you create those killer graphics, the perfect website, or even create the copy that's used on your next ad, all at a low cost, starting at $349 per month. Their on-demand, unlimited graphic design, web, and copywriting are backed by a 7-day money-back guarantee for all new accounts. And you'll be working with a dedicated US-based project manager assigned to your account. There are no hidden fees, and billing is month to month. So check them out for your next project and for the project after that too. You can find them at floxy.com, FLOCKSY.com. We also want to thank our friends over at opportunityinchina.com. Here's a little bit more about them.
At the dawn of the 19th century, forward-thinking people moved to the commercial centers of Europe. Moving into the 20th century, America welcomed millions into the land of freedom and opportunity. It is now the 21st century. Many of the successes and fortunes of our generations will be made in China. To learn how you can seize opportunity in China, follow the Opportunity in China podcast. The Opportunity in China podcast is available anywhere podcasts are streamed, or you can visit our website at opportunityinchina.com.
Now let's return to our conversation with Steve Olsher.
We are back with Steve Olsher. Okay, Steve, before we get rolling, we always want to know, how can people find and connect with you?
Well, we've talked about a few different things so far, right? And we'll keep going down this path here. But one of the things that we've talked about is the book, What Is Your What? So maybe that's the best place to start, is grab a free copy of the entire, we give away the whole book. So you can grab a free copy of the entire New York Times bestseller, What Is Your What? Discover the one amazing thing you were born to do, at whatisyourwhat.com. So maybe there.
Sounds great. We'll put that link and some other great links for how you can connect up with Steve, New Media Summit, his podcast, and so much more in the episode notes. Make sure you check that so that you can connect with him. Definitely need to connect with what he's doing. He's doing awesome stuff. Okay, so let's start off with your podcast. You've got a couple podcasts that you work on, and I've been listening to your what is it called? The Six Figure.
Beyond? Yeah, Beyond. No, dude, no Beyond six figures here. No 7 figures here. This is Beyond 8 figures.
I should know that. I listen to them and I love them, and yet I don't get it right. I don't know what's wrong with me.
All good.
So you have that podcast, and then you have your Reinvention Radio stuff that you're doing. Tell us about those and who they're for, what you talk about, and why they are so killer awesome.
So Beyond 8 Figures is our newest show, and on that show we sit down exclusively with entrepreneurs who have either exited for more than $10 million or currently run businesses that generate more than $10 million annually. And I don't want to say we go at it hard there, but we grill them until they share a lot of their tools and tactics and strategies that have gotten them to that 8-figure mark and beyond. So that show is a lot of fun, obviously a business specific show. Reinvention Radio is a show that I've been doing since 2009, off and on, and mostly on now since 2015. And that show is really all about featuring people who are dismantling the status quo, or have done some really interesting things in their life to reinvent their life. So kind of runs the gamut of you name it, of business and self-help and personal development. And every show has a theme, like reinventing fear, reinventing sex, reinventing marketing, reinventing SEO. I mean, you name it, I think we've covered it. And so it's really interesting to hear the stories of folks who were at point A in their lives and now are at point Z in their lives, and how they got there, and what they're doing now to really dismantle the status quo in that respective arena.
Well, I don't want to give it away, but I'd recommend going and checking out Beyond 8 Figures. Steve got himself in a little bit of trouble with one of the guests. You'll have to check that out. It's a super fun episode, and
I'll tell you right now. No, don't.
Okay.
There's a lot of episodes. I mean, it's the episode. I think you're talking about the one with Naveen Jain.
Yeah.
The billionaire there. I mean, like, the purpose of the show is to get to. I want to understand how people built their business, right? So, and part of it is I want to get to the numbers. I want to get to the metrics. I want to get to an understanding of exactly what we're looking at from a revenue perspective, from a profit perspective, from a take-home perspective, from a sales perspective.
Right.
I want to get to those numbers, and Naveen was not too forthcoming with that. And honestly, I think a lot of the reason why is because he got himself in a heap load of trouble.
Wow.
With some of the things that he was doing, and he just didn't want to talk about it.
Wow. Crazy. Do you think you ever got the right answers from him?
Nope. No, but it turned out to be a really good episode. I mean,
did.
He absolutely gave some stellar advice and guidance and so on that people found to be really, really helpful. So, but we actually do it as a morning zoo, right? That in Reinvention Radio, where we've got myself and other co-hosts who do the show together. And so in this case, one of my co-hosts kind of bailed me out and took over the episode after Naveen was pretty much ready to just walk out that door.
And you do most of your episodes in person, right?
We do most of our episodes. We do as many of our episodes in person as we can. Yeah, because we do it as a live show. And it's always better when somebody comes into our San Diego studio, for sure.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about New Media Summit. Before we do that, let's define what new media is.
Good question. I would actually define new media as everything that is not push media.
Okay.
So push media would be everything where a small group of folks make all the decisions around the media and the entertainment or the education, et cetera, that is going to be available and when it's going to be available and where. So that could be like newspapers or television or radio, et cetera. Versus pull media, where the consumer decides what they want to consume and when they want to consume it and on what device. And so new media to me is everything that falls into the pull media landscape, and old traditional media would be, again, just kind of in that traditional media sense.
Now, we are both lovers of this medium, podcasting. Why in the world should creators be looking at the podcast space? Because there's so much content creation going on. YouTube, traditional media, podcasting, blogging, vlogging,
dogs.
Yes, all the ings
dogs,
out there,
yes.
dogging.
Barking, yeah.
Why podcasting?
I mean, it's not a medium that's for everyone, right? By any stretch of the imagination. It is. Well, obviously it's an auditory medium, and some people prefer to consume video and others prefer to consume the written word. For me, it's just much easier to talk and just hit record on a conversation like this than it is to do like what we do with Reinvention Radio and Beyond 8 Figures, where we actually go into a studio and the lights and the whole nine, right? It's a big to-do.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that it is for everyone. I think that really is the bottom line, is if it makes sense for you to do it and you are looking at generating more meaningful connections with your audience, because podcasting is a very intimate medium, then I think it makes sense, especially if you're in a niche And I think today you have to be in a very specific niche. Like Reinvention Radio would not work if I started that today, right? Because it's just too broad.
Yeah.
And some of the more popular shows that we don't have to go through the list of the usual suspects to get them any more exposure than they already have. Yeah. But let me just say the majority of the shows that are out there now, in sort of the popular realms, if you will, the majority of those shows would not be where they are if they started today.
Right.
So a lot of those folks really did gain the benefit of just really good timing. But if you're going to get into the space, you can find some significant traction by going niche and just being really clear on who it is that you're truly serving. I mean, there's countless examples out there of shows that may not have a lot of downloads, but the people who do download the show are completely 100% interested in that discussion because they're choosing to download the show, right? I mean, so part of what I liken it to in terms of the podcasting medium is, you may not have the biggest number of downloads if you start a show tomorrow, but at the same token, if you have a show that has, let's just say, 100 downloads per episode, I mean, that's 100 people who raise their hand to say, I want to hear what you have to say, right? I mean, would you take a speaking gig that has an audience of 100 people who have all, either through survey or by buying a ticket or whatever, but they've all demonstrated interest in your particular area of expertise, right?
Right.
And the answer is unequivocally, yeah, of course you would.
Okay, so you've built a really cool event around podcasting and influence and messaging called New Media Summit. I was at the one most recently had. It was a lot of fun. Met incredible people. Tell us a little bit about that event and who it's for.
Well, it is for the SOAP crowd, as I call them, right? I mean, the speakers, the online marketers, the authors, even other podcasters and so on, because the idea here is it's really all about learning how to leverage and fully monetize the power of podcasting. We all share best practices, and we do small group discussions and panels and so on. But if you're looking really for visibility and credibility and authority, and you got a new book coming out, or you've got your own live event, or you've got a mastermind you're looking to fill, et cetera, and you need more eyeballs and eardrums on what it is that you're doing, that there's no more cost-effective way to make that happen than to appear on podcasts, right? Because it doesn't cost you a dime to appear on leading shows.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't know of any marketing tool whatsoever that is more cost efficient and time effective than appearing on podcasts, right? So that's what happens at the summit is you come there and you get to meet the podcasters, and we set aside time for you to pitch them on who you are and what you do. And you literally get booked on the spot. And that's our goal. And that's the objective of the summit, is to teach you, of course, about the medium, to be able to connect you with the podcasters, to get you booked so you leave with bookings in hand, and to teach you how to monetize every visibility opportunity that you receive. So that in a nutshell is what the summit's about.
Super cool. I've connected with a lot of great people, both other podcasters and other people in experts in their space through this event. I love the event. Matter of fact, it's October 16th today, and I have 2 Facebook Lives with New Media Summit attendees today. Just finished one, have one coming up in about 25 minutes. And it's just great, the kind of people you meet. And one of the hallmarks of your event is that you build a safe environment where people can really come and engage, share their story, and feel very welcomed into a community, and feel like they're connecting. And you don't find that at every event or every conference or every summit that you go out there. Matter of fact, I would say that you don't find that all that often anymore, that we're finding true connection. Why is connecting so significant to you?
Well, part of the reason why we keep the event smaller, and I'm not saying small, but smaller compared to some of the larger industry events that are out there. And ours is unique. I wouldn't put it in the category of a typical podcasting event. It's
Right.
more of a marketing event, so to speak. But I think that one of the main reasons why the event is as powerful as it is, and attendees, whether you're a podcaster or as an icon of influence or an attendee, I think one of the reasons why it really makes a dramatic difference in people's lives is because of the fact that we do create that safe space, if you will, to be vulnerable, to be authentic, and to really share of yourself without judgment. And that is really what I believe that the best podcast interview or any sort of visibility opportunity that you're going to come across, I really do believe that that's what is going to work best for you as you look to develop your audience and as you look to connect with potential prospects who would be ideal candidates for your products, programs, or services. I mean, they have to be able to tap into a sense of realness and have a sense of your integrity, and just really have a sense of who you are and why you do what you do. And I think that's really what the summit helps in so many ways for people to be able to tap into that degree of vulnerability and authenticity that you just don't see elsewhere. And frankly, we don't let you hide. I mean, nobody comes to that event and just kind of hides out in a corner. You're actively involved from the get-go. Some people kicking and screaming along the way, and others are just more than happy to play full out and participate. But it's it is, I believe, the biggest difference between those businesses that really thrive and those that struggle are those just the reflection of those who are really willing to be who a lot of others just don't want to be and won't be.
So good. You have your next event coming up in 2019 in Orlando, or Florida. Is it
Yeah,
Orlando?
it's in just outside of Tampa. It's at the Innisbrook Resort just outside of Tampa.
When is that, and how can they find out about that?
So that is February 21st through the 23rd. And newmediasummit.net is the best site there. So newmediasummit.net.
We'll be right back with Steve Olsher and our rapid fire questions.
There are so many unknowns when you go to chase your big ideas and dreams. How am I going to fund my idea? Will my idea even work? What happens if I fail? What happens if I succeed? How do I build the right team or market my idea and dream? Well, idea camps are here to help you create that roadmap to turn your dreams and ideas into reality. This 3-day event will be filled with sessions with leading thought leaders and speakers, workshops, mastermind groups, and tons of fun activities to help you discover that the impossible is possible. So head on over to jumblethink.com/ideacamps to learn more about idea camps and how we can help you turn your dreams and ideas into reality. While you're there, make sure you sign up for our free giveaway and win some really cool stuff. Now let's return to our conversation and rapid fire questions with Steve Olsher.
We are back with Steve Olsher to go into rapid fire questions. Steve, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. First question is, what is one tip you'd give someone with a big idea or dream and they don't know where to start?
Start.
Love it. What do you want your legacy to be?
Just that I help people discover, share, and monetize what truly puts fire in their soul.
Where do you find inspiration?
Wow. And that's it's a great question. If you've made it this far in the interview, you know that that's been a struggle of mine, right? Is having that degree of fire and inspiration. The honest answer is I don't think I do.
Oh, wow. Okay. What is one book you think every dreamer or entrepreneur should read and why?
I got to go back old school here, and I would say guerrilla marketing. by J. Conrad Levinson, because Jay was just an amazing man with an amazing ideas that were well ahead of his time. And a lot of what he talked about 20-something odd years ago, a lot of those ideas are still really relevant today.
Okay, we usually have a wild card question in here. I'm actually going to give you 2 wild cards today because I like you so much.
Thank you.
How do you define success?
That is a question that I often ask of folks who go through the reinvention workshop. Success is not my definition here, but this is a definition that I very much like, and I certainly heed these words and abide by these words, which are, I believe that success is really having the courage, the determination, and the will to become the person you were meant to be.
That's good. That's good. What is one trend you're currently excited about?
Well, I'm mostly excited about the shift towards autonomy, if you will, from the standpoint of being able to have things done in automated fashion.
Yeah.
Because as scary as it is to have robots and AI and sensors and all of these things out in our world doing the things that they're going to be doing, I do think at the end of the day it will be very freeing when a lot of the things that are now trivial and sort of task related can be taken care of and will only improve your quality of life, not hinder it.
How do you start and finish your day?
Very reluctantly.
Which end? Starting or finishing?
Both. I'm reluctant to get out of bed, and I'm reluctant to get off the couch and actually go to bed. So that's usually my day.
If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what do you think you'd be doing?
That's a good question. I probably would be doing something in music or politics, or maybe just in a corner suite somewhere.
And our final rapid fire question is, what is one dream you're still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
I'd say really honing in on what puts fire in my soul.
As we wrap up today's episode, we always like to leave our guests have a final thought. What's your final thought for our audience today?
Well, look, reality is we've covered a lot of ground here today. And I think at the end of the conversation, the way to really wrap this up is just to simply say that you are the solution to someone else's problem. Yeah. They are literally waiting and praying for you to show up in their lives. Yeah. And, it's interesting. I had a conversation with a woman this morning who said how much I've impacted her life and how much she appreciated my teachings and this, that, and the other. And I don't really feel like I do all that much, so to speak, right? So just the bottom line is you never know how even just the smallest gesture can impact others. And so just keep it in mind, really, that you are the solution to someone else's problem. And even if it's just a small something every single day, just do whatever you got to do there to share of yourself with those who are waiting for you to show up.
Steve, it's been a lot of fun to have you on. I love what you're creating. I love New Media Summit. Love your podcast. Thanks for taking time out and being with us today.
Yep. Appreciate you having me on, man. Thanks.
Once again, we want to thank today's guest, Steve Olsher, for taking time out. You can find all of his links in the episode notes. We also want to thank our sponsors for today's episode, OpportunityInChina.com and Floxy. Here's a little bit more about our friends over at Floxy. Floxy is your unlimited graphic design, web development, and copywriting team. It's time to stop thinking about those ideas, the next killer graphic, the next perfect website, the perfect copy for your ads, and start getting them created. Their plans start at $349 a month. No hidden fees, month-to-month billing, and you can cancel at any time. So for all of your web development, copywriting, and graphic designs, make sure you check out Floxy at floxy.com. That's FLOCKSY.com. We also want to thank our friends over at OpportunityInChina.com for sponsoring today's episode. Have you been looking for a way to change your career or social prospects? Do you see the world around you changing and haven't quite figured out what path you should take? Well, you are not alone in seeking opportunity. Visit OpportunityInChina.com for access to scholarships to attend university in China Or if you have a bachelor's degree already, opportunityinchina.com provides access to jobs in the educational sector all across China. Now, working in China is not only often well paid, but it will place you among 1/5 of the world's population, boosting your social network and bringing you more deeply into the story of globalization and opening doors you never knew existed. So seize your opportunity now. Visit their website for more information at opportunityinchina.com. They also have a killer podcast. Search for Opportunity in China Podcast wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Thanks again for tuning into today's episode. I want to encourage you, it's your turn now. Get out there, chase those dreams and ideas. The world needs you more than ever before to live up to that created purpose you were created to live for. So get out there, take a step, a small step, a big step, but any step to move those dreams and ideas forward and change the world around you.
Vous êtes une autre personne. Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.